Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a sense in which we perhaps should have started here, but as you're talking about this, John, I'm remembering what was for me like one of the most stirring moments in the book, in the new book, The Constitution of Knowledge, Defense of Truth. You should go buy it. But there's a section where you talk about just the period of time up until the 1600s and the fact that there had just been no growth. Like our species had been on this planet and living these short, pathetic lives, like not building anything durable, not expanding our lifespans, not collaborating and cooperating in important ways that could make things better for us. Then something changes. And you go on to identify these three specific liberal orders, and two of them will be familiar to everyone. I mean, one is capitalism, the other is democracy, the political and the economic orders. But this epistemic order, this third thing, which you introduce us to in a previous work, but really I think kind of develop in a much fuller way, is the thing that we've been talking about here, the kind of canon of practices and beliefs and traditions, the toleration, like all of those tools that allow us to do the hard work of knowledge building and to be able to cooperate with one another despite our disagreements and to discover truth, to manufacture truth, I guess, through that process, which I don't mean that we're telling lies. So you get what I'm saying, people, I hope. I wonder if you could just talk about that a little bit in a way. So I'd love to have you talk about both the three liberal orders, but the epistemic piece of that. And then maybe we can talk a bit about critical race theory and the tumult in the public schools.
Sure. Well, the first thing that you said so well, I don't know that I could ever improve on it.
Well, you did in the book. What you did in the book was better than what I did.
Well, people listening to this podcast so far may think that the book is all about attacks from trolls and anti-vaxxers and Trump and cancelers and whatnot. It's really not. That's the second half of the book. I think the more important half of the book is the part that's in the title, The Constitution of Knowledge. Every society, small or large, has a fundamental problem, which is how does it reach some kind of consensus about things that people need to agree on in order to function as a society. Humans are pretty good at figuring out things that, questions that have immediate feedback that our lives depend on, like is that a tiger in the bush, or is that a breeze in the bush, or where's the next tribe camp? We are really bad at abstract questions, like where is this disease that's killing a third of us coming from, or which god should we worship? And for the first 200,000 or so years of our history, the way we came to consensus about belief was we divided into sects with religions or authorities, priests or princes, or in the modern world, politburos. And they told us what we had to believe. And if we dissented, we started a civil war. A lot of people got killed. So there was a lot of oppression, a lot of ignorance, brutality, sectarianism, cultism. That's pretty much what we did. That changes in the post-Enlightenment period, right at the same time that you see Adam Smith and Markets and James Madison in the U.S. Constitution. You see the flowering of science, what I call liberal science, much bigger than just the sciences. It includes journalism and law, all the fact-seeking professions. And they're all doing the same thing, which is they're organizing decentralized cooperation on a national scale or even a global scale. And they're doing it by substituting rules for rulers. And that's a species transforming technology, because once you got these rules up, I call them the Constitution of Knowledge, but they're the rules and institutions that force us to actually present evidence to people all over the world in order to present our views, to persuade instead of using coercion. Once you set that up, you have the makings of a global network that's totally interoperable. You can plug into it from any country in the world, into universities, into sciences, into journals. You can make a submission. You can criticize a point of view. You can add an important piece of evidence anywhere in the world. You set up this global system for checking errors at a massive rate. The great genius of science isn't that it doesn't make mistakes, it's that it makes them very quickly, and it finds them very quickly. So you can find these needles in haystacks with amazing speed. And you can generate now more knowledge in a single day, typically, than in the first 200,000 years of human history, because you've now got a transnational body of millions and millions of trained minds in every field. and thousands of institutions training those minds, deploying resources so that they can pivot literally in days to decode the genome, for example, of coronavirus. This is a species transforming technology. It is the biggest transformative technology I believe that exists. More important than markets, more important than democracy. It gives us knowledge, freedom, and peace. So the reason that's so important goes back to something Matt said earlier. We feel like liberalism is failing and we're not sure how to defend it. We lose sight of the extraordinary things that are happening every day that no other system can touch. So part of the reason I wrote this book is to say, okay, there is a constitution of knowledge. It's not just free speech that automatically makes knowledge. It's lots of stuff. It's structure, institutions, norms, training, professional degrees. All kinds of things have to go right in this system in order to get people to interact in the right way to make knowledge instead of interacting in the way that makes QAnon. We need to understand those things to understand why they work so that we can defend them. And once we understand them, I think it's very easy to defend them, at least in principle.
I don't know if it's weird to admit that I get chills thinking about that. Like, it's a remarkable achievement. It's the thing. It's the key to our civilization. I'm completely convinced of that.
It is. Jonathan Haidt has a wonderful formulation of this, and he says it's allowed us as a species to function 1 or 2 orders of magnitude above our design capacity.
To pivot to a more terrestrial topic, the critical race theory business, it's a